3 words, that's all it takes. Not years of grinding, not endless motivation, not another plan you won't follow. Just 3 words that quietly decide whether your life moves forward or stays exactly where it is. Most people hear this and brush it off. It sounds too simple, too easy. But here's the part that almost no one talks about. These 3 words are already shaping your reality every single day, whether you notice it or not. They sit in your thoughts, they slip into your conversations, they define your actions before you even take them. And the reason so many people stay stuck is not because they lack talent, or discipline, or opportunity. It's because they are using these words the wrong way without even realizing it. There is a hidden pattern behind success that rarely gets explained clearly. People think results come from effort alone. Work harder, push more, stay consistent. That's what everyone repeats. But if effort was the only factor, then everyone working hard would succeed. And that's not what happens. There are people putting in hours every day and still not moving forward. At the same time, there are others who seem to attract opportunities, confidence, and progress almost naturally. The difference is not visible on the surface. It happens internally. It starts with the way they speak to themselves. Not just positive thinking, but something deeper, something more precise. A small shift in language that changes how the brain processes reality. Science backs this more than most people realize. Your brain is constantly filtering information based on what it believes is true. It deletes, distorts, and focuses based on your identity, not your goals, not your wishes, your identity. And identity is built through repetition of thought and language. That means the words you repeat most often become instructions your brain follows automatically. This is why some people unknowingly train their minds to stay stuck, while others train their minds to grow without forcing it. The scary part is that this process is always active, even when you are not paying attention, even when you think your thoughts don't matter. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Many people already use these 3 words every day, but in a way that blocks their own progress. They say things that reinforce doubt, fear, and limitation, and over time those patterns become their reality. Not because of luck, not because of fate, but because their brain starts treating those words as truth. And once your brain accepts something as true, it begins to act accordingly. Your decisions change, your focus shifts, your behavior aligns with that belief. That's how powerful this is. It's not magic, it's not wishful thinking. It's a system running in the background of your mind. In this video, you're going to learn exactly what those 3 words are, why they work, and how to use them in a way that actually creates change. Not fake motivation, not temporary excitement, real, lasting change. You'll understand why most people fail even when they try to improve their lives, and how a small adjustment in the way you think can unlock a completely different path. This is not about adding more effort to your life, it's about removing the resistance that's already there. Once you see it clearly, you won't be able to unsee it. And once you apply it, things start shifting in ways that feel almost effortless. Stay with this until the end, because the real power of these 3 words is not just in knowing them, it's in understanding how to use them correctly. Most people stop halfway. They hear the idea, they try it once or twice, and then they go back to old patterns. That's why nothing changes. But if you follow this all the way through, you'll see exactly how to make it part of your daily thinking in a way that sticks. That's where the real transformation happens. Not in a moment of inspiration, but in a quiet shift that keeps working long after this video ends. This might sound simple at first, but don't let that fool you. Some of the most powerful changes come from the smallest shifts. And this is one of them, 3 words. Used correctly, they can rewire the way you see yourself. They can change how you respond to challenges. They can influence the opportunities you notice and the actions you take. And over time, they can completely reshape the direction of your life. So if you're ready to understand what's been holding you back, and how to finally move forward without forcing everything, keep watching. There's a reason you're here right now, and by the end of this video, you'll see things differently. Welcome to the channel. If you want more content that helps you think clearly, grow faster, and take control of your life, make sure to subscribe and stay connected. Progress starts fast and then slips away just as fast. Plans get written with full energy. Goals feel clear for a moment. There is a sense of control in the beginning. Lists are made, routines are set, alarms are placed. A new version of life feels close enough to touch. Then slowly something shifts. The same routine that felt exciting starts to feel heavy. The same goal that felt clear starts to feel distant. Days begin to look the same again. The drive fades without warning. It becomes harder to stay focused. Small distractions feel stronger than big intentions. The effort is still there, but the results are not. This pattern repeats more than people admit. It creates frustration that builds quietly, not loud enough to talk about, but strong enough to be felt every day. There is a point where effort turns into confusion. More action is taken, but clarity does not increase. It feels like pushing against something invisible. Time is invested, energy is spent, yet the outcome does not match the input. This creates a silent question in the back of the mind. Why is this not working? That question stays unanswered for a long time. People try to fix it by adding more pressure. They try to force consistency. They try to motivate themselves again. Sometimes it works for a short period. Then the same cycle returns. Start strong, lose momentum, feel stuck. Repeat. Goals are not the problem. Planning is not the problem. Even discipline is not the main issue. There are people who have all three and still feel blocked. The deeper issue is harder to see. It hides behind habits and routines. It blends into daily thinking. It feels normal, so it is never questioned. That is why it stays in place for so long. It does not look like a mistake. It looks like reality. There is also a quiet weight that builds over time. Each failed attempt adds a small layer of doubt. Not always conscious, but always present. The mind starts collecting these moments, missed targets, broken routines, promises not kept. These moments begin to shape a belief that says progress is temporary, a belief that says change does not last. This belief does not shout, it whispers. It sits under every new attempt and slowly pulls it back. The hardest part is that desire is not missing. The want is real. The vision is clear. There is no lack of ambition. There is no lack of effort. The gap exists somewhere else. It exists in the way the mind processes all of this. It exists in the connection between thought and identity. This is where things start to shift. Most people focus on what they want. They think about results, they picture outcomes, they repeat goals in their head, they write them down, they speak them out loud, they try to stay positive. This approach feels logical, it feels productive, but it often leads to the same place. A place where the goal stays in the future, always ahead, always out of reach. There is a reason for this. The mind does not respond to desire in the way people expect. It does not move based on what is wanted. It moves based on what is accepted as true. This is a quiet rule that operates all the time. It decides what feels natural and what feels forced. It decides what actions are easy and what actions feel impossible. It decides what patterns repeat and what patterns break. Identity sits at the center of this process. Identity is not built in one moment. It is built through repetition. It is shaped by the words used every day. Not just the words spoken out loud, but the words repeated internally. These words become statements. These statements become beliefs. These beliefs become identity. Once identity is formed, it starts guiding behavior without effort. This is why two people can have the same goal and completely different outcomes. One sees the goal as something they are moving toward. The other sees the goal as something that already belongs to them in some form. The difference is subtle, but powerful. It changes the way the brain filters information. It changes what opportunities are noticed. It changes how challenges are handled. It changes the level of persistence without needing extra motivation. The mind is always looking for consistency. It wants thoughts, actions, and identity to match. When there is a gap, tension is created. That tension is often felt as resistance. It shows up as procrastination. It shows up as doubt. It shows up as loss of focus. This is not random. It is the mind trying to return to what it believes is normal. When someone repeats a goal like a distant wish, the mind places it outside of identity. It becomes something separate, something not yet real. This creates a constant feeling of chasing. The effort increases, but the internal alignment does not. That is why progress feels unstable. It depends on external push instead of internal consistency. There is another layer to this. Language is not just communication, it is instruction. The brain listens to repeated phrases and treats them as signals. These signals shape perception, they guide attention, they influence emotion. Over time, they become automatic responses. This process happens whether the words are positive or negative. The brain does not judge, it simply records and applies. That is where the shift begins to take form. Not in doing more, but in changing what is being repeated. Not in chasing harder, but in aligning deeper. The focus moves away from the future and into the present. The idea is not to deny reality, but to reshape the internal reference point. This is where many people hesitate. It feels unfamiliar. It feels unnatural at first. But it is the same process that created the current patterns. The pace slows down here. The attention turns inward. The noise of external advice fades for a moment. A simple question forms. What words are being repeated every day? Not occasionally, but consistently. Not loudly, but quietly. These words are often overlooked because they feel normal. They feel like facts, but they are not facts. They are patterns. Once this is seen clearly, the next step becomes simple, but not easy. Replace the pattern, not with random positivity, but with intentional structure. Words that align with the identity being built. Words that bring the future into the present. Words that remove distance and create ownership. This is where the three words come in. They do not look powerful at first. They do not sound complex. They do not carry technical weight. But their effect is deep. They change the position of the goal. They shift it from something ahead to something within. They close the gap between desire and identity. The moment before they are revealed is quiet. There is no rush. There is no need for build-up beyond clarity. The idea has already formed. The mind is ready to receive something simple, something direct, something that can be used immediately. So what are these three words? They are simple. They are powerful. I am all ready. Most people don't fail because they are lazy. They don't fail because they don't care. They fail because they are speaking their goals in a way that keeps those goals out of reach. The pattern sounds normal, almost harmless. It sounds like progress. It sounds like hope. Phrases like I will be successful, I want to be confident, I will become disciplined. These words feel positive on the surface, but they carry a hidden problem. They push everything forward. They place your identity somewhere in the distance, not here, not now, somewhere ahead. And the mind listens carefully to that distance. It accepts it. It builds around it. It treats your goal as something that is not part of you yet. That small gap becomes the reason nothing fully sticks. Because the brain is always trying to stay consistent with what it believes is true in the present moment, not in some imagined future. When someone says, I will be confident, the mind hears that confidence is not present right now. When someone repeats, I want to be successful, the mind locks onto the fact that success is missing. It keeps reinforcing the idea of lack, not because the person is negative, but because the structure of the sentence creates distance. This distance becomes a pattern. It repeats daily. It becomes familiar. And once something feels familiar, it starts to feel true. That is how people unknowingly train themselves to stay where they are. They keep their goals alive, but always out of reach, always one step ahead, always just beyond the present version of themselves. This creates a strange loop. The more someone wants something, the more they talk about wanting it. The more they talk about wanting it, the more they reinforce that they don't have it. The more they reinforce that they don't have it, the more their brain stays aligned with that reality. It becomes a cycle that feels like effort, but produces no real shift. Action is taken, but identity does not change, and without identity change, results remain temporary. That is why motivation fades. That is why routines break. That is why progress feels unstable. Because everything is being built on a foundation that still says not yet. The future becomes a place where everything exists. Confidence is there, success is there, discipline is there, but it never moves closer. It never becomes now, because the language used keeps pushing it forward, and the future, as it is spoken, never arrives. It keeps moving, it stays ahead. It creates a constant feeling of chasing, always running, never arriving, always trying, never becoming. The shift begins when this pattern is seen clearly, not judged, not forced, just observed. Once it is noticed, it becomes easier to change. The focus moves away from what will be and into what is, not as a lie, but as a decision to train the mind differently, a decision to close the gap between identity and desire. This is where the three words become practical, not just an idea, but a tool. The first step is simple. Choose one desire, not 10, not everything at once, just one clear area of life that matters right now. It could be confidence, it could be discipline, it could be growth, it could be focus. The key is clarity. The mind works better when it has a single direction. When there are too many goals, attention gets scattered, energy spreads thin, nothing fully takes shape. So the choice matters. It sets the direction for everything that follows. Once the desire is chosen, the second step is to turn it into identity. This is where most people hesitate, because it feels different, it feels unfamiliar. Instead of saying, I want confidence, the statement becomes, I am confident. Instead of saying, I want discipline, it becomes, I am disciplined. This is not about pretending, it is about shifting the internal reference point. It is about telling the mind what to align with. Identity statements carry weight, they feel more direct, they feel more real. And that is exactly why they work. The brain listens differently when identity is involved. It starts adjusting behavior to match the statement. The third step completes the shift. Add the words I am already. This is where the distance disappears. This is where the future collapses into the present. I am already confident. I am already disciplined. I am already focused. These statements do something powerful. They remove waiting. They remove delay. They tell the mind that this is not something coming later. This is something that exists now, even if it is not fully visible yet, even if it is still growing. The statement creates a base, a starting point that the brain can build from. At first, it might feel uncomfortable. That is normal, because the mind is used to old patterns. It is used to hearing lack. It is used to hearing delay. When a new pattern is introduced, there is resistance, not because it is wrong, but because it is new. That resistance fades with repetition. The more the statement is used, the more familiar it becomes. The more familiar it becomes, the more natural it feels. And once it feels natural, it starts shaping behavior automatically. This is where the real change happens. Not in the words themselves, but in what they create. Attention shifts. Opportunities become easier to notice. Actions feel more aligned. Decisions feel clearer. There is less internal conflict, less hesitation, because the identity is no longer being questioned. It is being accepted. And once identity is accepted, behavior follows without force. Examples make this clearer. I am already disciplined. This does not mean perfection. It means the mind starts seeing discipline as part of self. Small actions begin to reflect that. Choices start to change. I am already attracting opportunities. This shifts focus outward. It makes the mind more aware of chances that were always there but ignored. I am already becoming the person I dreamed of. This creates momentum. It connects the present with the vision without creating distance. The key is not just to say these words. The key is to feel them. Not in a dramatic way, not forced, just a quiet acceptance, a calm certainty. Feeling adds depth to the statement. It tells the brain that this is important, that this matters. Without feeling, words stay on the surface. With feeling, they go deeper. They become part of the system. Repetition matters here. Not once or twice, but daily. Consistent use builds familiarity. Familiarity builds belief. Belief builds identity. And identity builds results. This process does not require pressure. It does not require perfection. It requires consistency. Small, steady repetition that slowly reshapes the internal landscape. Over time, something shifts. The need to chase reduces. The need to force reduces. Actions start to come from alignment instead of effort alone. There is a sense of movement without struggle, not because everything is easy, but because everything is connected. Thoughts, identity, and behavior begin to match. This leads to a deeper realization. Life does not change at the moment something is achieved. It changes earlier. It changes when identity shifts. When someone becomes disciplined, results follow. When someone becomes confident, opportunities respond. When someone becomes focused, progress builds naturally. The external world starts reflecting the internal state. Getting something is visible. Becoming someone is internal. But the internal always comes first. It sets the direction. It sets the tone. It creates the foundation. Without it, results feel temporary. With it, results feel stable, because they are built on something real. This is not about denying challenges. Challenges still exist. Effort is still needed. Action is still required. But the source of that action changes. It comes from identity, not from pressure. It comes from alignment, not from force. That difference changes everything. The process continues quietly. Each day adds a layer. Each repetition strengthens the pattern. Each aligned action reinforces the identity. Slowly, the old way fades. The language of delay disappears. The habit of pushing everything into the future loses its hold. What remains is a simple, clear way of thinking that supports growth instead of blocking it. And in that space, the words keep working. Not loudly, not dramatically, just consistently. I am already. Maybe this isn't new information. Maybe you've heard ideas like this before. But this moment feels different for a reason. Not because the words are new, but because you're ready to see them in a new way. Sometimes the truth doesn't change, the timing does, and right now this might be your reminder. A reminder that you don't need more pressure, more force, or more waiting. You just need a shift. A small one, a quiet one that changes how you see yourself when no one else is watching. Think about it. All this time you've been trying to reach something outside of you, trying to become something later, trying to arrive somewhere in the future. But what if the shift happens the moment you stop placing your life ahead of you and start bringing it into the present? What if the version of you that you've been chasing is not far away, but simply waiting for you to claim it? Not loudly, not perfectly, just consistently. You don't need to change everything overnight. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to feel ready. All you need is to start speaking differently to yourself. To start choosing words that build you instead of holding you back. To start repeating a truth that pulls you forward instead of pushing your life away. I am already. Simple words, but when you use them with intention, they stop being words and start becoming direction. And maybe nothing around you changes instantly. That's fine, because the real change starts inside. It starts in the way you think, the way you feel, the way you move through your day. And once that shifts, everything else begins to follow. Slowly at first, then all at once. That's how real transformation works. Quiet in the beginning, powerful in the long run. So if something in this video clicked with you, don't ignore it. Stay connected, be part of this journey. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. Like this video so more people can find it, and share it with someone who might need this reminder today. Because sometimes the smallest message reaches someone at the exact right moment. And remember this, sometimes the moment you stop chasing is the moment everything starts finding you.